Most people ignore this when it starts happening, only realizing much later what they were being warned about. And by then, the pattern has already shaped their life. What if that butterfly hovering near your window, that bird singing louder the moment your thoughts turn heavy, that spider showing up again and again during emotional overwhelm are not random visitors, but intentional messengers? What if each encounter is a response, not from chance, but from the unseen? A sacred signal answering a shift already happening inside you. When the spirit begins to awaken, the universe rarely speaks in sentences. It speaks in patterns, in symbols, in nature, in living signs most people rush past without noticing. But you noticed, and that alone matters, because awareness is alignment. When your inner world starts to move, the outer world mirrors it, gently at first, subtly, repetitively, with precision. Animals are not just background to your life. They are reflections, carriers of meaning, guides that appear when words would fail. And when one shows up more than once, crossing your path at key emotional moments, it is not coincidence brushing past you. It is communication arriving directly to you. Today, you are about to uncover 5 sacred animals that almost always appear during a spiritual awakening, not in myths or stories, but in real life, your life. Each one carries a message too exact to dismiss and too powerful to ignore. If you have felt something stirring in their presence, a quiet recognition you could not explain, this is your confirmation. Listen closely, because overlooking these signs could mean overlooking the very answer your soul has been asking for in silence. This message was meant to reach you now, and once you understand it, the way you see your experiences will shift permanently. And before we reveal the first animal, if something inside you feels activated, if this touches a place you can't quite name, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and write 777 inches the comments, a number long associated with spiritual alignment and divine timing. This moment may be the opening of your next chapter. Let's begin. The butterfly, the unmistakable sign that your soul is preparing to be reborn. You don't just notice a butterfly when it appears, you feel it. There is something about the way it arrives, quiet, fragile, unexpected, as if it's not simply passing through your sight but entering your space with intention, hovering close like it carries knowledge you haven't yet named. And in a way, it does. When a butterfly shows up during a spiritual awakening, it is not there to decorate the moment or lift your mood. It arrives to interrupt you, to break the rhythm of your life with a message from beyond words. Who you have been can no longer contain who you are becoming. Butterflies are not symbols of comfort, they are symbols of disruption, because transformation never begins with ease, it begins with friction. That persistent restlessness, the tightness in your chest, the sense that something in your life no longer fits even though it once did, that is not confusion, that is the cocoon beginning to split. That is your spirit signaling that it is done, staying compressed. Butterflies appear when you are being invited to release attachments that once gave you identity, but are now draining your energy. A job that feels empty, a connection that no longer feels safe, a version of yourself that learned to stay small just to survive, instead of expanding to evolve. You might try to ignore that knowing, distract yourself from it, or talk yourself out of it, but the universe does not ignore it, And so the butterfly returns, again and again, because repetition is how the soul speaks when it needs to be heard. Its message is gentle but urgent. It is time to become, even if becoming means letting parts of your old life fall away. And here is the part most people overlook. The butterfly does not begin in beauty or freedom. It begins in darkness, in isolation, in a place where everything it once was dissolves completely. Inside the cocoon, there is no holding on, no half measures, only surrender. That is the cost of real transformation. So, if butterflies have been crossing your path lately, you are being invited into your own cocoon season, not to disappear, but to heal, not to escape life, but to change how you move within it. Yes, it may feel lonely. Yes, it may feel like nothing is happening on the surface. But this is not stagnation, this is preparation. They arrive when the veil thins, when protection draws close, when guidance moves quietly around you. If you have felt watched over, gently guided, strangely comforted, you are not imagining it. The butterfly does not announce itself loudly. It glides in softly, unmistakably, to remind you that you are already changing, and living as if you are not will only make the process heavier. Because here is a truth few are ready to accept. The butterfly does not chase its future. It becomes so light, so aligned, so true to itself, that rising is effortless. And maybe the heaviness you have been feeling is not a sign that something is wrong, but a sign that it is finally time to release what cannot come with you. But before those wings fully open, there is another sign that often follows, something smaller, quieter, yet powerful in a completely different way. If you miss it, you may miss the very blueprint for what comes next. Stay here. What you are about to see was meant for you. The bird arrives when heaven is trying to reach you, and the real question is whether you are willing to notice. Some signs do not wander into your life quietly on the ground. They descend from above, carried on wings, arriving without force yet filled with precision. They come not when everything is calm, but when your heart feels weighted and your thoughts are racing faster than you can slow them down. And then something unexpected happens. A sudden tapping against the glass. A bird landing closer than feels normal. One singing with unusual intensity, just as your mind begins to unravel. That is not coincidence brushing past your day. That is interruption by design. In seasons of awakening, birds are never background scenery. They are messengers, living signals tuned to frequencies beyond logic, carrying information from the unseen, from heaven, from guidance trying to reach you through layers of noise. Each bird holds a vibration. Each species carries a distinct tone. And once you begin to pay attention, you realize they have been speaking to you for far longer than you noticed. The hummingbird does not arrive merely to be admired. It appears when joy feels distant, bringing sweetness into moments where answers feel too heavy. It hovers to remind you how to stay present when your mind wants to run. It comes when your spirit needs lightness more than explanation. The crow, so often misunderstood, carries one of the strongest messages of transformation. It does not signal endings to frighten you. It signals rebirth. It circles when something in your life must be released so something greater can emerge. And the songbird, the one that sings persistently outside your window when sleep will not come, is not there for entertainment. It is there as reassurance. Joy has not left you, even now. Even after everything you have endured, birds do not appear to fill space. They interrupt your rhythm on purpose, lifting your gaze from the ground to remind you that you are more than tension and worry. You are spirit, you are expansive, and you are not navigating this season alone. What most people overlook is this: birds do not only reflect what is happening, they announce what is approaching. Most people notice birds like this and move on, never realizing the moment they were invited to stop. There was a woman once, drowning in grief, who noticed a dove landing on her balcony every single day at the exact same hour. Same place, same stillness, no clear reason. At first she ignored it. Then one day she stayed, she watched. And when the dove lingered longer than usual, something inside her finally released. She said it felt like her soul had been holding its breath for months, waiting for permission to exhale. That is what birds bring: permission to soften, to forgive, to hope again without forcing it. So if a bird keeps appearing near you, returning again and again, refusing to fade into the background, that is not nature being random. That is navigation unfolding. Your soul is being gently redirected, realigned, reconnected. The invitation is quiet but precise. Will you pause long enough to receive it? Because in a world saturated with noise, only stillness can hear heaven, and heaven does not always send messages through dreams or voices. Sometimes it sends wings and feathers. Listen not only with your ears, but with your awareness, because once the bird lifts away, the message shifts, and what comes next does not glide or sing. It waits, it weaves, it watches patiently from the edges, carrying the key to breaking patterns you have been living inside for far too long. Up to this point, most people think the signs are about transformation, but what comes next reveals what has been silently holding them back. The ant, the quiet signal that it is time to rebuild what everything else depends on. Not every spiritual message arrives wrapped in beauty or wonder. Some come crawling low to the ground, easy to dismiss, easy to ignore, yet impossible to miss once your awareness is awake. The ant does not announce itself with color or sound. It does not glide like the butterfly or rise like the bird. It moves steadily, deliberately, almost invisibly, and that is exactly why its presence matters. When ants begin appearing in places they don't belong, crossing your floor, lining your walls, gathering near where you sleep, think, or work, they are not intruders by accident. They are reflecting something practical that has been neglected for too long. Something in your foundation is no longer holding, and it is time to rebuild it properly. Notice where they show up, not in the wild, but in your most personal spaces: your kitchen, your bedroom, your desk, the places that hold your routines and your rest. First one appears, then another, then suddenly a trail forms and irritation rises. You sweep them away, you feel disrupted, but the ants were never there to disturb you. They came to reveal what has been overlooked, delayed, or quietly avoided. The ant is a symbol of sacred order. Every movement it makes is purposeful. Every step is aligned to something larger than itself. When they flood into your environment, they are not just pointing to disorder in your home, they are mirroring disorder in your inner world. Scattered habits, ungrounded thoughts, unexamined patterns that can no longer support what you are trying to build. And here is the truth that stings a little. Spiritual growth without structure becomes chaos disguised as progress. You cannot rise higher when the ground beneath you is unstable. Ants appear when your vision has expanded, but your daily life has not caught up. When your dreams are asking for more support than your routines can give. They whisper a message that feels small but carries weight. Slow down, simplify, strengthen what holds you up. And there is another layer most people miss. The ant never works alone. It does not isolate. It does not carry everything by itself. It coordinates, collaborates, and trusts the system it is part of. This is its quiet teaching. You were never meant to hold everything on your own. If you have been pushing forward in silence, avoiding help, skipping rest, telling yourself you can handle it while everything around you feels strained, the ant arrives to interrupt that belief. It asks you to look honestly at where you are over-functioning out of fear, where you are pretending to be fine just to keep things from collapsing. The wisdom of the ant is humble but powerful, because ants do not merely survive, they build lasting structures from almost nothing, piece by piece, habit by habit, step by aligned step. Perhaps your next breakthrough is not in another spiritual search or dramatic revelation, but in tending to what is already in your hands, cleaning your space, clearing your schedule, naming your true priorities, releasing what drains you quietly. Maybe your soul does not need more information, maybe it needs integration. And when you finally slow enough to lay a new foundation with intention, something shifts. Resistance softens. Life begins to cooperate again, because when the inner structure becomes solid, the outer world stops pushing back. But stay with me, because the next sign does not crawl or build. It moves differently. It arrives from above, carrying a message from a higher place, and what it brings may answer the question you have been afraid to say out loud. The spider arrives quietly, carrying a truth you haven't yet learned how to name. Not every divine sign comes with wings or sound or beauty that feels safe. Some arrive in stillness, in silence, in the corners of your life you avoid looking at too closely. The spider does not rush. She does not announce herself. She waits, she observes, she builds with precision. And when she appears on your ceiling, in your bathroom, near your mirror, right as you are facing your own reflection, she is not there to frighten you. She is there to reveal you. In spiritual symbolism, the spider is the guardian of the web, not just the physical one, but the invisible web you have been spinning your entire life. Every thought you repeat, every belief you reinforce, every emotion you cling to, every fear you avoid, each one is a thread. You may believe you are simply surviving, moving day to day, doing what you can, but in the unseen realm, nothing is neutral. Every habit, every pattern, every reaction is shaping a design. The spider does not ask what is happening to you. She asks what you are creating without realizing it, and whether you are willing to keep living inside it. She appears when you feel trapped in cycles, when you whisper to yourself, "Why does this keep repeating?" When the faces change but the pain feels familiar, when life feels like the same chapter rewritten with different details, that is when the spider comes to say, "This is not coincidence, this is construction. You are not cursed, you are weaving." And she does not hurry you because she understands something most people forget in chaos. Creation requires patience. What lasts is never rushed. The most powerful structures are built slowly, one deliberate thread at a time. Here is the part that shifts everything. The same power that can create a trap can also create a bridge. Awareness decides which one it becomes. Are you unconsciously weaving a reality that keeps you bound to an old identity? Or are you beginning to spin something that supports who you are becoming? The spider invites you to observe your patterns without judgment, your emotional reflexes, your spiritual autopilot, and then to choose with intention what comes next. Ignoring her does not dissolve the web, it only tightens it. She teaches that what feels like stagnation is often sacred construction happening out of sight, and what looks like nothing changing externally may be everything reorganizing internally. There was once someone who began seeing spiders everywhere, in his car, his closet, even in his dreams. At first he panicked and tried to escape, but the more he resisted, the more they appeared. It wasn't until he stopped and looked inward that he realized he was replaying the same emotional loop in every relationship, including the one with himself. That awareness unraveled the web completely. This is the spider's wisdom. She does not force truth. She waits until you are ready to see it. So if spiders have been crossing your path, appearing in dreams, or if your life feels like it is quietly shifting behind the scenes, know this: you are not trapped. You are in the act of creation. What you are weaving now will become the reality you live inside. And just when you think you have begun to understand the pattern, the universe sends something else, something wild and primal, not to entangle you, but to cleanse you completely. The frog arrives as a command to release, a signal that purification can no longer be postponed. It does not enter gently or wait for permission. It leaps suddenly from shadow, from damp earth, from places you weren't looking, startling you into awareness. And the moment it appears, something inside you tightens, because you already know this is not random. It is timed. In spiritual language, the frog is neither a symbol of luck nor something to fear. It is a threshold creature, a guardian between worlds, living in water and on land, moving freely between emotion and matter, spirit and body. It shows up when your inner waters have grown heavy, when unspoken grief has pooled too long, when pain you told yourself was resolved has quietly fermented inside you. You may think you moved on, but your nervous system remembers, your spirit remembers, and when the weight becomes too much to carry forward, the frog appears. It does not soothe you. It does not reassure you. It confronts you without words and delivers a clear message. You are holding too much, and it is time to empty. Perhaps it has been a long time since you allowed yourself to truly cry, since you let the pressure break open, since you told the truth you buried to survive. Perhaps you learned how to function while quietly suffocating, smiling while your inner world stalled. The frog has no interest in appearances or spiritual performance. It responds only to what is stagnant. It asks what you are still carrying that no longer belongs to you. Notice when frogs emerge, often after rain, after storms, after the sky has already done its release. The air feels cleaner. The ground smells alive again. That is the cue. Let it rain inside you. Let what has been trapped rise to the surface. Let sadness move. Let anger speak. Let guilt exit without shame. The frog does not arrive to punish. It arrives to cleanse. Many ancient traditions associate it with healing rites, with shamans, with initiations into a new phase of life. It often appears to those standing between versions of themselves, ready to move forward but still gripping what should have been left behind. If frogs have been crossing your path, especially during emotionally charged moments or in the quiet hours of night, your soul is calling for ritual release. Not spectacle, but honesty. This may look like writing what you never allowed yourself to say and destroying the page. It may look like sitting in water and letting your body finally soften. It may look like speaking truth to someone who still lives in your memory, or simply forgiving yourself for surviving the only way you knew how. The frog does not promise comfort right away. It promises clarity, and clarity gives birth to courage. Courage opens the door to rebirth. So when the frog appears, do not step around it or dismiss it. Pause. Receive the message. Because what you have been asking the universe for, movement, relief, breakthrough, may be waiting on the other side of what you are finally willing to release. And once you let go, you do not fall. You rise. After the signs have appeared and the messages have landed, there is a quieter responsibility that follows. One most people overlook. It is not to chase the next symbol or wait anxiously for another confirmation, but to integrate what has already been revealed. Signs are not meant to be collected like trophies. They are meant to be absorbed, lived with, and allowed to reshape how you move through ordinary moments. This is the phase where discernment matures. You may notice yourself becoming more selective with your energy, less reactive to urgency, less compelled to explain yourself. This is not withdrawal, it is embodiment. When the message is received, life itself becomes the teacher. Conversations begin to feel different. Choices feel heavier, not with fear, but with consequence. You sense when something is aligned without needing proof. You sense when something is off without needing evidence. This is how the signs complete their work. They train your awareness until you no longer need external interruption. Many people miss this stage and stay addicted to signs, mistaking repetition for depth. But heaven is not trying to keep you dependent. It is trying to make you fluent. When the symbols quiet down, it does not mean you were abandoned. It means the message has moved from outside of you to within you. This is where trust replaces anticipation. You begin to walk differently, slower, clearer, more anchored. You stop forcing outcomes because you can feel when timing is not ripe. You stop explaining your boundaries because you can feel when something does not belong. This is not intuition as a skill, it is intuition as a state. In this phase, even silence becomes communicative. A closed door feels like peace instead of rejection. A delay feels like protection instead of punishment. You no longer rush to name everything spiritual because you are living it. This is the maturity of awakening, where signs no longer need to shout because you are listening at a deeper level. The animals, the moments, the disruptions were never meant to replace your inner knowing. They were meant to activate it. And now that activation is stabilizing. This is where the soul learns to trust itself under God, without spectacle, without anxiety, without chasing meaning. The message has done its work. What remains is presence, and presence will guide you more accurately than any symbol ever could. Chosen one, let everything you have just received rest gently within you now, because nothing that moved through your heart was random or misplaced. The signs, The emotions, the quiet recognition, even the moments of tension and release were all part of one unfolding conversation meant to meet you exactly where you are. You are not late, not off course, not overlooked, and the pace of your becoming is not a problem to be fixed, but a rhythm to be trusted. What you felt was not confusion, it was awareness deepening, and what stirred inside you was not weakness, it was sensitivity remembering its strength. You do not need to hold yourself tightly anymore or search for the next answer right now. This is a moment to soften, to breathe, to allow yourself to be held by the truth that your process fits this season perfectly. Nothing has been wasted, nothing has been missed, and you are not walking alone. Stay here in this quiet assurance as we move gently toward the prayer that follows, allowing the stillness to do its work. And when you feel ready, you're invited to share in the comments whatever is resting on your heart. A thought, a feeling, a question, or a reflection, knowing it is received with care. If this message brought clarity or comfort, feel free to share it with someone who may need the same reassurance, and subscribe to remain connected to these sacred moments. You are seen, you are supported, and this moment is being held in grace.